Sounds good. All right.
I kind of flip-flopped with the cell phones in that I'm trying to teach them to use it as a tool as opposed to a toy.
Mm-hmm.
So I do periodically, okay, pull it out, find this on your cell phone, let's work with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm finding some of my students are better, but I've with them, I've graduated a year. The 10s have become 11s and such. So you sign a contract when it's lab, but only for the labs.
For the labs, that's right. We have a verbal contract in the classrooms. There's a common decency issue. If everyone has their emergencies, everyone has their things to do, 90% of those emergencies are not emergencies, but it deems, I say if you've got it, a cell phone, you're more than welcome to keep it, but for the next 2 hours, depending on the length of the class, it's in your pocket. If it vibrates, you get up, you leave the room.
Right.
You do not disturb other people.
Okay.
Now, in your math classes, do they use calculators?
Yes.
Yes, and can they use their cell phone as a calculator, or do you have them?
What happens is, most of them are very good at using it. If they're comfortable using their cell phone as a calculator, I have no problem, as long as it's on calculator mode,
Yeah.
and that's it. It's used for something else, it's off the tables.
Now,
So-
what happens if a student violates this? So in your classroom with the oral, but with the written one in the lab, what happens if a kid pulls out their cell phone?
It's basically, if it pulls out a cell phone and they're using it for something else, they get a verbal reprimand. If they can't deal with that, then they get a second one. I'm never gonna take it away, we can't take them away per se.
Can you ask them to leave the class?
I can ask them if they are going to be using it, you can single them out, and a lot of times they don't know how to react because this is foreign to them, this is something that they've always had with them, and all of a sudden it's becoming an obstruction. But if it's being disturbing to other people in the class, it's not being productive, or it's not representing what we're trying to do there, you're here because you want to be here, not because you have to be. High school's over. So if they don't want that, I have no problem asking a student to leave. I haven't had to do it yet. They've always been respectful for the point that if I tell them at the beginning of the class, if you have rules and you enforce them, the class isn't gonna go on until it's out, either you have your headphones out or it's off the desk. It's always worked out, but like Amanda's always told me, she recommended to me, she goes, if you're gonna have rules, put them down hard, put them down fast, and stand by them. Because if you waver, they're gonna recognize that they can get away with it, so.
And it is within your right to ask a student to leave the class?
You can absolutely ask a student to leave any class at any time for violating your rules.
Right, and do you have to, if the student complains, do you
They're
have
the
to?
one that signed the contract. I always say it's within your right not to sign the contract, but that means you're not allowed in the labs, you won't complete your project, and therefore you won't complete the course load. So the decision is up to you.
And we have directives that allow the teacher full control of technology in the classroom unless it's for somebody who has an IEP, which we don't call that here, but an IEP type thing where they need assistive technology. Other than that, the teachers can ask them to leave at any time, and those are our directives that we're allowed to do.
Does everyone follow the same cell phone policy, or is it very individual?
No, it's teacher's prerogative.
I know teachers who've had the cell phone goes on the teacher's desk at the beginning of class. All the cell phones as they come in. If there's exams, right, it's very easy to cheat now from a cell phone.
Yeah.
We get a lot of picture taking of exams.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So zero tolerance during exams, during
What
test
hap-
writing.
Do you fail the exam if you have a cell
Um,
phone during an exam? and
it
you're asked to
depends.
leave? It depends.
It depends on the teacher.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you don't allow your phones in either?
What's
No
earphones?
Your
No.
earphones, nothing.
If they're concentrating on this, they're not concentrating on the board. That's the way I view it. And for 2 hours, 2 or 3 hours, depending on the class, when it's in a lab, it's a safety issue. If you're not
Right.
concentrating
Right.
on doing something safely, and there's a lot of
Right.
things that can very
Right.
easily hurt you, and that's the
Right.
criteria down there. They won't want you concentrating on anything other than what you're working on.
Okay.
So that's the
we-
mentality down there.
It is teacher-based.
Mhm.
And when I give assignments in English and they have half an hour to work on whatever assignment, I'm all for earphones.
Yeah.
I'm all for, block off your space, stop the distractions, whatever it is you need. Can't possibly be cheating on a memo.
Yeah.
Try, but as long as I can't hear it, I don't care.